Hello and welcome everyone. This is Professor Siddharth Surana. I hope you guys are doing good और मैं तो हमेशा मस्त ही रहता हूँ. Let me begin by telling you a little about myself. I am a qualified chartered accountant and I have been teaching CA students since the year 2010. It's been 12 years of teaching and training CA students both at inter as well as final level, and statistically approximately 25 to 30,000 qualified chartered accountants who have cleared their exams. Approximately 25 to 30,000 chartered accountants of the country have already been my students over the years. As a record, attempt after attempt, regularly my students in my subject direct tax get highest number of exemptions across the country. I have got students from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh. There are a few things that I initiated in the field of CA coaching and which over the years a lot of other people are also doing. Now, for example, I was the first faculty in the country who started recorded direct to home lectures way back in 2013. Earlier DVDs, then pen drives, now Google Drive. With times we are changing, of course. I was the first faculty in the country who introduced lectures in two languages, Hindi and English. I traveled to Ahmedabad also, I traveled to Kerala also, and based on the audience taste, I had to adjust myself. Being comfortable with both languages, I started recording lectures in two languages, Hindi as well as English. Other people are also doing it. Now, I was the first faculty in the country who took online live lecture way back in 2017, where we had only the facility called Facebook Live. There was not even YouTube Live and Zoom and other platforms to have come after the pandemic, of course. So, these are the things that I have done as the first person in CA coaching. Apart from that, I also write 7 books per annum for CA students. Considering my subject changes every year because of the budget, I have to change the books every year. 5 books for CA final and 2 books for CA intermediate. If I now that I have spoken about the books, let me tell you about the CA final, because here I am to address the CA final students of Pinnacle Education. So let me talk about, now that I have mentioned about the study material, let me mention before you that at CA final, what are the 5 books that I write every year, which will be a part of the study material that will be given to you. First, there is a theory book which will contain your entire theory in complete detail. No cutting short, no shortcut, nothing concise, entire theory in complete detail. Wherever required, we have used language directly from the Bare Act as well. So, this theory book will also show your manner of writing answers and everything, especially the theory questions. As far as practical sums are concerned, you just solve the sums and you get your marks. But for theory, the language will also be very, very important. So, that's the first book that is going to be given to you as a part of your batch. Second, I have a question and answer book. This is that book which we use in course of our batch. How the batch will work, that is the next thing on the agenda once I complete the study material part. Question and answer book, approximately 430 to 450 subjective and descriptive questions. MCQs separate, I am coming to that. 430 to 450 subjective questions in class. This is the class book. This is class work. We will be doing near about 430 to 450 questions in class itself in course of our batch, which will go on for about 2.5 months. I'll come to that in some time. So these are the 2 books that we will be using in class. Then I believe in the costing philosophy of Kaizen. Kaizen means continuous professional development. So this year I have written a new book that is something called an additional question bank, which again has roughly same number of questions, approximately 400 to 430 questions, subjective questions, descriptive, not MCQs. MCQs book number 4, I am coming to that. Basically, now what you do is, it is an open challenge. Pick up ICAI study material. ICAI study material of direct tax is divided in 4 modules. Pick up any of the 4 books and open any random page, like you used to play book cricket in school. Tang, tang. Open any random page. Any question, any illustration, any question, any illustration in any corner of ICAI study material will be covered here. The last 3-4 attempt RTPs will be covered here. The last couple of attempts, see, direct tax, no, we cannot have 8-10 attempts ka RTPs or question papers. With the number of changes in the law, the old questions become outdated, no longer relevant. So last few attempts ka RTP, mock test paper, your actual exam question paper, subjective questions of the exam are released in public domain. MCQs of exam unfortunately are not released in public domain. So whatever is available as database, everything is covered. Or let me summarize, for your question answer practice, you do not have to touch any single book once you have these two books. This will cover your subjective questions, more than 850 questions, good enough. Fourth book is the most popular book of mine, from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, from Gujarat to Arunachal Pradesh, the MCQ book, where again I have approximately 1900 MCQs, 1900 MCQs. From the first time ICAI introduced MCQs in CA exams till as late as the recent RTP, any MCQ that ICAI has released in public domain, देखो mock test paper का MCQs are available, RTP MCQs are available, they release some sample questions, they are available. Last year institute released something called a case study digest. So they give a story and on that story they ask 5 MCQs. They released the case study digest. Every single MCQ introduced by ICAI till date is incorporated up to the last RTP. Not a single MCQ will be missing from our book. Effectively, if you complete these 2700 questions, about 850 subjective and 1900 MCQs, you have completed your question answer practice. इतना डेप्थ में you do not need to touch a single book. Everything at one place is what these three books will together contribute. Usme these questions we will be doing in class, and of course these books will be provided to you. So for so many years now, this MCQ book has been the most popular book. This, as I told you, that I have written recently. This is the 5th book that I have recently written. Until recently, there were 4 books at final. This is the 5th book that I have recently written. And I am 100% sure in the next couple of years, this is also going to become a very, very popular book across the country. This is very recently written. MCQ book is already very, very popular. And the last book, as popular as the MCQ book, I have a handwritten color summary book. Handwritten color book. Summary of all the concepts. See, one day before your exam, it is not possible to revise your subject direct tax, which has got 43 chapters. Biggest subject in terms of size. Biggest subject. Bigger than Draupadi ka sadi, honestly speaking. Biggest subject in terms of size. Very difficult to complete. One day before your exam, it is not possible. But then, go for this book and see. It is once again an open challenge. One day before your exam, you will be able to revise the subject twice. Not once, but twice. One day before your exam, you will be able to revise the entire subject. Okay. Now the question arises, sir, handwritten color book, all subjects, all teachers across the country, everyone is doing that. What is the different in your book? For example, in our question book, it is like, what is the USP? 100% coverage that you don't have to touch anything else. So again, there has to be some USP. Now, how is your handwritten color book different from others? Our book will include the latest trending memes, as going by the culture, going by the latest culture. Every concept has to be converted into a meme. To give you a small glimpse of how I have created the handwritten book with images, almost. Babu Bhaiya is very, very popular. So are ACP and Daya. You know what happens when you purchase an asset and what happens after you depreciate the asset. The difference between asset acquired and asset depreciated, the value change. Almost on every page you will find some meme or the other. There is going to be a meme that will explain every concept to you. This is how our handwritten book is different from others. Effectively, there are these 5 books which I write per annum. As I already told you, 4 books I used to write till last year. This is my latest work, the additional question bank, 100% coverage from ICI study material. Earlier, I used to tell students that you do this much with me in class, then you practice ICI book on your own. But I know that it is a little difficult for you to open study material, then get an RTP, then get a mock test paper, then get a past exam question paper. So to compile everything at one place, we now have additional question bank. Also, together, these books are going to ensure, the results are already speaking. Attempt after attempt, exemption after exemption, highest number of exemptions in my subject. The results are already talking. They are shouting. So, this is the study material that we have for you at CA Final Direct Tax. Because I was talking about being an author, I decided to introduce the study material initially only. Now, if this was about what is about myself and the study material that I am going to be providing to you in course of the subject, I have been working with some of the biggest organizations across the country for physical lectures also, though I am born and brought up in South Bombay and only students of Mumbai know the difference between Mumbai and South Bombay. I am born and brought up in South Bombay, but I have been traveling for lectures everywhere. Some of the biggest organizations of the country I have been working, and today I am here to talk to the students of one of the most prominent organizations in CA coaching in central Mumbai, Pinnacle Education. Already you are aware of the excellent quality faculties provided to you by Pinnacle Education, not just in one subject but all the subjects. When all good teachers come under one roof at one place, obviously it is going to do a lot of value addition. In fact, a lot of you guys are already associated with Pinnacle from 11th standard to CA Final, and I am absolutely aware of the kind of family and homely environment that you get at Pinnacle. So I don't need to talk much. You already are aware of the quality and the content that you are going to get over here. I will be teaching at Pinnacle one batch of CA Final Direct Tax per year, and that one batch roughly takes about 70 lectures. 70 lectures of 3 hours, that is about 210 hours roughly we take for completing CA Final Direct Tax. This is, as I already told you, the biggest subject in terms of size at CA Final level. So it has to take the time required, and the lectures are Monday to Saturday morning. So as a weekly off, Sunday ko I don't take lectures in the morning. Accordingly, near about 2.5 months, third week of the third month, so one full month, second full month, and third week of the third month, we complete the syllabus. It's a big subject, but we have regular revision of the previous chapter also. I keep on asking questions so that I am aware of whether you are with me in the subject or no. This batch roughly will take place somewhere in the months of October to December every year, like we did last year also. We will be doing every year in the months of October to December, 2.5 months, and we will get done for the next year ka May and November ka attempt together. 43 chapters I will be covering with you in class. Even when I am giving you the handwritten book, every chapter, every concept will be written in class, and likh ke I will be teaching you. I'll just show you the notes of the last batch of Pinnacle only. So to give you an example, this is the chapter Assessment of Firms and LLPs, which I have taught in the just concluded batch of Pinnacle. Okay. So every concept that I have taught, I start by writing the name of the chapter. Every word, this is something that I have done during the 3 hours ka lecture. While teaching, I have been writing. So some students can take down these class notes itself. Then handwritten book is not required, because this is as good as the handwritten book without memes. So everything what is important will be highlighted. We will change the color of the ink wherever required. If there is any amendment, so I write in red color. Here there is no amendment. This is partnership chapter, so there is no amendment visible. If there is an amendment, it will be written in red color. But everything is written and taught. So theory will be explained, and of course after that, when we are doing 450 plus questions in class itself, it is going to be sufficient enough for you to cover anything and everything as far as your CA Final Direct Tax ka study is concerned. To give you a small demo about how we write and learn, we have decided that in course of this video, we will be taking up a small concept that you will get an idea about how this teaching is going to proceed. And when I take this small concept, I have decided that I am going to take the most important concept of your international tax of paper number 7. Matlab randomly pick up any chapter of that 30 marks international tax. Any chapter of 30 marks international tax. This concept will be a part of that chapter. This concept is a part of any chapter of international tax. This is one of the most important concepts in your entire syllabus. So let me take up this concept and explain how I am going to go about your class. Now, this concept I am not teaching for teaching you the concept, the manner of learning of our class. That is why whenever we pick up a concept, I will write and explain. Globally, there are two principles of levy of tax. Income tax, we are talking about direct tax right now. Two principles of levy of tax worldwide, not just India, worldwide. We are talking about international tax right now. There are some countries in the world which don't have income tax. No income tax. We call them tax heaven. A heaven matlab this heaven. This heaven. Not that heaven. Jannat dikhata mai. Jannat. No. Not that heaven. Tax heaven. Heaven. Means they don't have income tax. Income tax nahi hai. Us country mein income tax nahi. But whichever country levies income tax, India for example, on what ground will a country levy tax? Any of these two principles can be attracted. The first principle is called principle of residence. And the second principle is called principle of source. Globally, there are two principles of levy of tax, principle of residence and principle of source. Whenever you are resident of a particular country, now then residential status will depend on your number of days. Just a quick recap of what you have studied in CA intermediate. Where I always tell final students when I start the batch, it is assumed that you all have cleared CA inter with the support of IDT GST and you all left DT in options altogether. And when I say it is assumed, students reply, sir, it is not an assumption, it is the reality. How can you assume the reality? But some faint memories, if at all you are able to recollect. 182 days in the current year if you have spent in India, physical presence in India, or 60 days in the current year, 365 days in the last 4 years. That is basically how we decide residential status. And at that stage only you must have been taught that a resident has to pay tax on world income, a non-resident has to pay tax on Indian income. If you remember that, that is what I am talking about right now. Once you are the tax resident of any country, once you are resident of India, that means India will be treated as your home country. If you are a resident in India, then you have to pay tax on your global income, world income, irrespective of whether the source of income is in India or outside India. For a resident, everything is taxable. That is called the principle of residence. If you are the resident of a country, you have to pay tax in that country on your world income. Principle of residence will be applied by the home country. But then, is it also possible that you are a non-resident? Let's take India only as an example. You are a non-resident. You came to India only for a few days, 1 week, 10 days, 15 days. You are a non-resident. You do not meet the criteria of being the tax resident of India. But during that small stay in India, that 1 week, 10 days, jo bhi aapka stay tha, you have earned some income in India. IPL hua, some cricketers have come and earned income in India. If the land of this country has generated that income for you, that means India in this example becomes your source country. If the source of income is in our country, you have to pay tax. This will now be called the host country. So for residents, we are the home country. But for non-residents who are coming and earning here, we are the host country. India takes tax on non-residents, not on their world income, but at least on what they have earned in India. That is called the principle of source. When you are the tax resident of any country, you have to pay tax on the global income. And if you are non-resident in the country, you still have to pay tax on what you earn in that country. These are the two principles, principle of residence and principle of source. Take a small example. Supposingly Mr. X, he is a resident in India. He spends more than 182 days in India. That means he is a resident. And he has got income in a country called New Zealand. Mr. X, a resident in India, has got income in New Zealand. Example, rupees 100. Now listen, dekho. First of all, in New Zealand you can't earn in rupees. You will earn in New Zealand dollar. And secondly, 1 New Zealand dollar is roughly 50 rupees. So ऐसा नहीं कि खाली $2 कमा के. This is only an example. Mr. X, a resident in India, earning income in New Zealand. Example, rupees 100. The question is this 100 going to be taxable? Is this 100 going to be taxable in India? ये मेरा first question है. Is this 100 taxable in India? You have earned in New Zealand, but is this taxable in India? Yes, because India is your home country and India will apply the principle of residence. Is this 100 also taxable in New Zealand? Yes, because New Zealand is the host country and New Zealand will apply the principle of source. The home country will apply the principle of residence and the host country will apply the principle of source. When you are the tax resident of any country, you have to pay tax on world income. And when you have source in any country, you have to pay tax on that income in that country, even if you are not a resident. And which is why, what will happen is, can you see Mr. X on this 100 is paying tax in India as well as New Zealand? That means if you observe carefully, the same person on the same income is getting taxed twice. The same person on the same income is getting taxed twice. One country is applying principle of residence, that is India, your home country. Another country is applying the principle of source, that is New Zealand, your host country. And Mr. X, the same person, on this 100, the same income is getting taxed twice. This concept is known as double taxation in our Indian income tax laws. Double taxation. And on this double taxation, the assessee is going to get some relief, which is one of the most important chapters of international tax in your CA final syllabus. The chapter is known as double taxation relief. You can also call it double taxation avoidance agreement or convention or treaty. Treaty means a contract between the two countries. The government of India and the government of New Zealand will sign a treaty, an agreement, a contract with each other, and together they will reduce the tax liability of the assessee. That's one of the most prominent chapters of your international tax. And today I am not here to teach you that chapter double taxation relief. I just had to make you understand a small concept, to make you understand what is going to be our manner of learning. Every concept that we learn in class, we will be writing, learning. I will be giving you examples. I will be giving you examples from Bollywood movies, from web series. So before you start attending, go watch Sacred Games, Mirzapur, Family Man. You watch all this. So the things will be on a lighter note all throughout the class. I am not joking. 2.5 months से ज़्यादा भी कभी-कभी बैच हो जाता है. उसके बाद भी students don't get bored. They are longing for more. So this is a small concept that I wanted to cover up with you. So I hope you've liked the concept, and I will see you guys in the months of October, November, December with the direct target of an exemption, nothing below that, exemption and nothing else. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.